What's up out there? What's up out there? Barbershop Sports Politics fans. We in this thing again, once again. Young Lion and Leader here with my boy Smoke Cliff, man. We are doing another topic for you today. We got a new thing. We don't know how far it's gonna go. But we just made up an award right now on the spot for Jason Whitlock. First ever CaCoon award. Now this award goes to those people of a minority, come from a minority group that have been isolated away from their group so much that they say things that seem complete idiotic to anyone in that demographic. And that's why we call it the CaCoon. He's like in his own cocoon. He's been around and had money and been around other demographics so much that he almost unrecognizable to us. Jason Whitlock. He is a straight idiot in my opinion. So he had a few comments that he had to say. We're gonna run a little audio real quick today and let you listen to some of the things that he said. This is dealing with LeBron James, whether if somebody writing nigger on his gate at his home, whether it's a $40 million home, whether that is actual racism, whether that is racist for them to write nigger on his what's name. This seems like something that should be easily distinguished, but this young man right here has a problem with it. Let's listen to what he has to say real quick on this issue.
Racial slurs had been written on LeBron's LA home not far from here.
I think it's a disrespectful inconvenience for LeBron James. I think that this is where I struggle with LeBron James. He has fallen into the far left trap of there's value in embracing your victimhood. And so LeBron, I watched his press conference. I saw it yesterday, saw it again today. And his comments analogizing any part of this to Emmett Till is preposterous.
Now, inform our audience of that.
Emmett Till was a 14-year-old boy from Chicago who went to visit his uncle in the 1950s in Money, Mississippi. Money, Mississippi is probably the dumbest name ever to call that city Money. It should have been called No Money, Mississippi. Very poor, depressed area, about 300-400 people, one industry town, poor people live there. Emmett Till had an interaction with a white woman and was brutally murdered by her husband and her husband's half-brother. Brutally murdered. 14-year-old boy, allegedly because he may have whistled at the woman, but we come to find out later he did not. Brutally murdered. It's one of the most tragic historic events in African-American history. There's no analogy between that and what happened to LeBron James. He allegedly had the N-word spray painted on his $20 million Brentwood home. He wasn't there, his family wasn't there, he heard about it. He's on stage, oh, my family's safe. From what, spray paint? They're in Cleveland. Again, I don't want, racism is an issue in America, but it is primarily an issue for the poor. It's not LeBron James's issue. LeBron James, whether he likes it or not, or whether people close to him are telling him or not, he has removed himself from the damages and the ravages of real racism. He may have an occasional disrespectful interaction with someone, a disrespectful inconvenience. But again, you talk about the people that murdered Emmett Till got off, an all-white jury let them off. There was no real investigation. The whole town was against him. LeBron's $20 million Brentwood home gets vandalized, and I see 2 or 3 police cars trying to get to the bottom of it. LeBron's staff, I'm sure, cleaned up the spray paint within hours. This ain't Emmett Till, and we need to quit. And LeBron needs to quit embracing his victimhood, because he's not a victim, and it's a terrible message for black people.
All right, I'm gonna stop that right there. I gotta address some of the things, because he says so much foolishness that you kind of gotta slow down and address it. The one thing that he said first, this is almost a tactic by some people when they're in an argument. They act like they don't understand English, and they jump on a part of your statement and not and don't actually address what you actually said. And then and he'll talk for 3 days, over this, and will never actually say what LeBron said. And the problem he was saying was analogizing this thing to Emmett Till. He was not analogizing it, putting himself in Emmett Till's spot. He put himself in Emmett Till's mother's position, not Emmett Till. He said that he was basically just showing, like LeBron's comment was, Emmett Till's mother had an open casket to show people what was going on with him. That's all this is. LeBron James was just opening up to show you what types of racisms and things that you deal with that only black people deal with, when it comes to stuff like this. So, yes, saying something or letting people in when he could have, not addressed the situation at all. He could have just ignored it, not even said that it happened until TMZ came out and TMZ made their money off of it. LeBron just addressed it and let us in, just like Emmett Till's mother let us in to see, see the racism. And I believe that was the the analogy between him and Emmett Till. And we are going, actually, this is such a perfect opportunity to bring up the CaCoon, and why I say CaCoon, because most of the time people get to the point that they have so much money and they have certain status that they can separate themselves from their demographic because of the money and the status, even though certain small things can happen to you which they can't really mess with you because you got so much money, so they can't take your money and stuff like that. But you can still have racial problems even though you have money, and this is what I was saying, like, and this is a lot of people believe that certain people get a certain amount of money and they forget about their community. This is the first person that I heard verbalize saying that is what you are supposed to do. You do not have to deal with poor black people's problems, even though you probably have poor black people in your family, because I don't care who you are, LeBron or what, if you make it from this country, just about anywhere, you still have poor people in your family, because you can't save everyone. You can make enough money, you can't save everyone. So, that's the second. And then the last thing he was saying, I guess it's a poor problem, and that embracing your victimhood. That was the thing, embracing your victimhood, and saying that he's not even a victim. It's not racism, and he's not a victim. He was inconvenienced. We'll find out if they ever caught the person, which they won't catch the person that actually spray painted it on his on the gate of his home. We probably won't catch him, but we could ask the police if they caught him, would LeBron actually be a victim of this crime? Is it a crime? I don't know what crimes don't have victims. Is it not a crime? Smoke Cliff, is that a crime? Is that a crime?
It's definitely a hate crime.
It's a crime. It don't even have to be a hate crime. It could just be a crime, and he's still a victim of a crime. The things that he's spitting.
No, I think you can't spin it that way. I mean, I think it's kind of. Listen, man, they got these laws for a reason. You know what I mean? And that's all we scream about. When things happen to us, we want, like when there's police brutality against somebody in our community, we want them to pay. We want them to pay. We want them to, do the time for the crime, basically. So if that's a crime and it's possibly a hate crime, I want whoever is a responsible for that to be facing a hate crime charge. That deters other people. You know what I mean? We can stream that, it is a relevant argument, but what I'm saying is we need them to be held accountable for certain crimes. Because when you go on, I can't go on somebody's property and spray paint cracker or whatever other derogatory term you want to use for any race of people and say, I don't hate you. It takes hate for me to do that, because I know that's the most disrespectful thing I can do to you and not know you. You know what I mean? Like, I believe you can only hate people you know. You can't hate somebody you don't know. How? You don't know them personally. And then to spray paint that means that you hate me because of who I am or the color of my skin. So yeah, that's definitely a hate crime, and I want his ass, they ass, whoever's ass in jail facing a hate crime for that.
Yeah, they definitely should go ahead and prosecute these people, but they won't catch them. They won't catch them.
Man, so, you mean to tell me LeBron James got a $21 million home, and they can't find the person who done that? In that community?
Well, yeah, you know how that goes, man. I've had people break in your house. You can have cameras and everything. If they got masks on, you won't be able to do anything. What can you do unless they have a distinguishable tattoo? It would be the only way that you would distinguish them. Tattoos, shoes, stuff like that. So anyone that first, this is a calculated crime. The person that probably did it does not live in that area. So if you're gonna spend time and calculate it, I would likely believe that they probably will cover themselves up and things like that or whatever. So you're not likely to find this person. You know what I'm saying? Even if you got them on camera, you're not likely to find them. So I mean, that is it. That's pretty much it, man. Like, he is this guy is, I guess, I don't know why you expect to get anything different from this guy, whatever. This is the same guy that said Serena Williams was hiding a good tennis player under a level of blubber, and that she hiding a tennis player under a level. But at what point were you saying this? This woman has been winning her entire career. She probably hasn't gone a year and a half without winning a title her entire career. And you're making comments about this lady like that, and especially when you a fat ass yourself, you know what I'm saying? If you're a fat ass, I know people say, I guess fat asses may know about fat asses, but this fat ass could not distinguish between a supremely fine-tuned athlete and his fat ass. So this guy is just basically, he's the go-to guy to talk about any black person in sports. he would try to say that he talked about some of the GMs or some of football teams or something like that. But I doubt that he talked about that they were covering themselves in blubber and that they were, you know, getting basically off of their actual job. You know what I'm saying?
I think we should go back, because I definitely think he's one of those type of people. So if you feel like racism only happens to poor people, what about speaking up for Tamir Rice's and Freddie Gray's and the Philando Castro's or the Sandra Bland's? Like, how do you feel about that? Because these weren't rich people, you know what I mean? So what's your position on that? Because we see that happening too, and I don't hear you being as loud about that as you are about LeBron, a person who's sending 1,100 kids to college, or Serena Williams, who's doing something in tennis history no male or woman had ever done before she did it. So, I mean, he doesn't have a dog in the fight, and the only reason he's even in these positions is because he steady takes these unpopular positions because he speaks to a side or a community in America who wants to hear that. He's not on Fox because, he's not on Fox because he's not that person, because he was on Fox before. You know what I mean? They let him go before, and they basically fired him as being the editor of his own website. So because he, because of the comments he made in 2014 about I forget exactly what it was about, but I know he was fired as the editor for it. So it's like he's only where he's at because he steady keeps these positions, and you can't hear any other race have these opinions and it be okay. It's only okay because he looks like us, so he's speaking. They feel like, well, he's at least speaking as a black man who sees things in a, as he say it, as a non-liberal way. And that should tell you plenty about it, because it's not about race, it's not about politics, it's about fairness. And if you feel like it only happens to black people, where is your fairness and coverage on the people that it's happening to? All right, forget LeBron. LeBron's not an issue to you. That's not racism to you. Let's talk about somebody that it just happened to. Yeah. Like the Latino brother that was killed down in Houston, I believe it was in. Got choked out. Like, why aren't you talking about that if you feel like LeBron is not an issue? So that's my whole thing. So it's like, where do you stand on any of it? And I don't believe that he's ever been somebody who stood for anything, whether it was a poor black man or a rich black man.
Yeah. I think he probably stand for Popeye's chicken.
Probably.
He probably run 10 miles for Popeye's chicken, man. He probably if I was training him, that's what I'd do. I'd put a piece of chicken on a stick and get on his back and tell him catch it. Run and catch it. I think that's all the motivation he needs.
That sucker there, man. This is like, man, we gotta get these suckers. We gotta stop promoting these suckers too, man. You know what I mean? We gotta stop.
We're not promoting these people. These people are strategic. They're strategically placed there. You have to say something. You could not say something, but everybody says, well, you kind of giving him. You give him. No, if you don't say something, he influences the thought process of other people.
What I'm saying is you definitely expose them, because if you cover more times, if you're trying to get somebody out that you really want out, you expose them when they're trying to, defame who you are. You know what I mean? Like LeBron and not being racism, or Serena Williams blubber, or this. You expose that every chance you get, but everything else you just let go. You know what I mean? But I don't think Jason Whitlock deserves a week of coverage on nobody's platform.
I'm be honest with you. I didn't even know who this guy was until this comments.
Exactly.
I had no clue who this guy was before the comments, and then I started going back and listening to some of the other stuff he was saying. I was like, I see why you got your job. You know what I'm saying?
He's kind of like the sports black Bill O'Reilly.
Mm. I look at some people, and like I can't even think of the guy. Like, how could he get a show? How he get a show and have a show before the other guy? It's another guy with got red hair, kind of red hair. He comes on the shows a lot, somewhat red or whatever. He got an afro. He first kind of got popular because he was one of the guys that defended LeBron.
You talking about Chris Broussard?
Chris Broussard. Now Chris Broussard should have 10 shows before this guy does a podcast basically. But for some reason they bring, they bring them out to say these things. Like everybody.
Chris Broussard is like, Chris Broussard is really not what they want. But if you know his bio, basically, he's not what they want to be, the person they want to be mainstream, because he has a very, very diverse way of thinking about religion. So there's a lot of things, say for instance, he would be in the Mark Jackson situation. I think if he was to have like a show, a nationally syndicated like First Take or Undisputed, I think it would be more of a problem for him to do it.
Yeah, I would have loved to see that guy. Every time he's on the show, I sit down and listen to what he says. I think they know that, and that's why they just bounce him around. And he basically can hold up 10 shows because everybody will listen to what he has to say on this show or that show or that show. Rather than give him his own spot, which actually might give him too much power, to say the things that he wants to say. But so, man, that's gonna be our thing on that. I'm gonna give the proverbial 2 piece of the biscuit to this man. Jason Whitlock, man, get out of your cocoon. If it's even possible, you probably have been morphed into some type of white butterfly or something at this point. I don't even know if coming out the cocoon would actually help you at this point. But get your life together, man. And I'm sure that life has a way of coming back on people like this. They always don't think they black. It's kind of like O.J. Simpson. Life has a way of coming back on those people that try to escape, what God gave you. You know what I'm saying? The blessings that God gave you. You try to take pieces of the blessings and then ignore parts of it. Karma has a way of coming back on him. I'm sure that he'll find something in his life that he'll say is racism, and then black people won't stand up for him at that point. So that's our show. That's our thing today. And if y'all like the videos we got, please subscribe. Once again, go to bsp.news and purchase anything to help us to support this channel. Got a Patreon page coming soon. I want y'all to look out for that and support that. And that's it. And we out, man. That's again Young Lion the Leader, Smoke Cliff. We out.
We out, champ.